Welcome to Quilter's Toolbox, a program dedicated to bringing you the latest tools, some great tips, and innovative techniques. Our guest host will share their insights and take us to new levels of sewing and quilting. Here's what you'll find on today's show.
Let's meet Kaye Wood of Kaye Wood Incorporated as she shares her years of experience and worldly advice in our guest profile. Making it simple is what Kaye is all about, and she'll prove it when she shows us her Stars Made Simple project on today's show. There has to be another way. There is. Check out our toolbox tip. Let the experts show you how they did it. Then join us inside the toolbox, where we'll take a closer look at the latest tools.
Let's test your knowledge on Quilter's Toolbox with our Quilter's Quiz. Here's a true or false question. Did Native Americans use porcupine quills for sewing and needlework? We'll find out if you're right later on in the show, so stay with us.
I think sharing is a part of quilting, and we all learn from each other. And I don't think anybody gets to the point where they can't learn something new. And I think that's really one of the best parts about quilting. When I was teaching machine embroidery, I met someone that worked in a television station in Western Michigan, and they had a noontime show. She did. And she said, would you ever want to come on and show my technique, or show your techniques? And of course I said no, I wouldn't do that. Well, you know better than that, because I love the camera. So I did. I went on and we shot one that was 20 minutes long. And before I left, she asked me to do 5 or 6 more that they could show throughout. And that was real interesting, doing machine embroidery on TV, because at that time we used to use cotton thread, and heat will make it break. And so the heat from the TV cameras, so we had to keep water dripping on the thread. And so it was actually running down the machine so that the thread wouldn't break. Now the threads we have nowadays don't do that, but those days they did. And then I decided, after I'd written a few books, that I really needed to do some videos of my books. And when I was there, then the director that was doing the taping said, why don't you do a series for television? I said, why not? And so we did, and been on a long time. We try to interact with the audience, try and make it simple enough. I'm not out there to impress the audience with what I know. I want to impress them with what they can do, and I think that's important. Whenever I need a new tool, I design it. But I have some basic tools, the Star Makers, and they really can make, over half of the geometric quilts could be strip pieced with the Star Makers. And it just simplifies it. Just because I'm on TV doesn't mean I'm just not like everybody else. I take quilting classes when I can. I think it's important that people take classes from a wide variety of teachers, because there are so many techniques to get to the same end. And they're all okay techniques as long as you have the result that you like. And I just happen to like strip piecing because I think it's easier and more accurate. I think they should relax and enjoy it, because if it's not fun, go play golf. It shouldn't be stressful. There are different levels of quilting, but you get there naturally. Nobody starts at the top, and not everybody wants to be at the top. Some people are very comfortable just making the same quilt over and over again, and they get so they're good at it. They just change the colors, and that's okay. And I think quilting, the industry is great because it accepts everybody at their own level. Hi, I'm Kaye Wood, and today we're going to do some kitchen quilts. What's a kitchen quilt? Well, let's take a look. You might think of it as a pot holder, but I like to think of it as a kitchen quilt. And it is a star, and I've designed this technique so that there are no points to match with this star. Let's take a look at how we're going to start. The base is a hexagon, so I'm going to take my hexagon shape and visually center a design inside of it, and then rotary cut around the outside. Now I already have one cut, but I want to show you, suppose you want to make a smaller one. Like here I have a 6-inch and a 4-inch star. Let's just take this and leave it where it was, but now I want the inside. Well, you can't rotary cut around the inside of any shape. So I've designed these so that you take the next smaller one and put it inside, remove it. Now the design is still centered and you can cut around the outside edge with a rotary cutter. And we have a 6-inch hexagon as a base. We can go down to a 4-inch and even a 2-inch hexagon base. So that is the beginning of our kitchen quilt. Then what we do is to take triangles, and let's just take them here, and we're going to lay them on top of our hexagon, and look what happens. There we go. And here we have our 6 triangles on top of the hexagon. We have our rows centered, fussy cut in the middle of the star. Now, wasn't that an easy star? Let's take a look at how we're going to cut our triangles. I've got a piece of fabric here that's double. This is the same width as the edge of the hexagon. I'll just remove these pieces for now. And then you fold it in half. It's about 4 3/4 inches. Then I like to stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, the raw edges together. That'll keep it stable. And then I'm going to cut these pieces into segments that, if they were open, would be a square. So if we use 4 3/4 strip, it's 4 3/4. We take our triangles and fold them and press them. And I like to center them on the side of a quilt. So I fold my hexagon to find the center and just give it a crease there. We line up the folded edges of the triangle with the crease, and you might want to put a pin there. And just pin it right to the background, to the hexagon. And then just continue and put one of the hexagons, or one of the triangles on each side of the hexagon, again lining up the creased edge with the folded edge of the triangle. And I do like to put a pin in each one just to hold it there. And they should center perfectly because of the crease and the pin. And the next step is to stitch 1/8 of an inch around the entire hexagon to anchor those triangles in place. Next, I'm going to show you how to take your 6-pointed star that we've made into a kitchen quilt or pot holder and expand it into other projects. For instance, here we have a placemat that we've just made larger by adding strips. Okay, once your hexagon star is finished, we can add strips to it. And the way we do that, it's a log cabin technique. And we want to add the same color to 3 sides. And after we sew the strip on right sides together, we press the seam allowances toward the new strip. Now remember, when we put our triangles on, we used an 1/8 inch seam allowance. That's so now when we go and sew with 1/4 inch, we don't have to worry about those first stitches showing, because we sure don't want to rip. So by doing an 1/8 and then going to our seam allowance, we're okay. Now after that's pressed, the way we're going to cut it is to take the Star Maker 6 and place it so that the edges line up with the edges of the hexagon. And you'll see I have some lines here. They need to be parallel to the seam line. And I'm also going to mark the seam line with a piece of static sticker because I need to know where that is. And I'll show you why in a minute. So we have our strip added. Now we're going to cut it, and this always gives us an accurate angle. Now, when we go to the next side, we also, now this has already been cut, you can tell that, but when we line this up with the outside edges of the hexagon, the static sticker will be in the same place, and that's how we can control the size and the angle, both of them, on each strip. And here we go to our next one, and you can see how it would be there. Now, if for some reason you made a mistake and one of your strips was not cut the same width, or your seam allowance changed, then that static sticker might be down here or up here, and you'd know right away if you made a mistake. So you can go back and correct it. You don't have to wait until you're finished and hope that it will match. Now we have 3 sides done. Now we'll go with dark colors on the other 3 sides. And after we put them on, it's the same technique. Now these have already been cut, but we line up the outside of the Star Maker 6 with the outside of the hexagon. We use the lines here to keep our seam allowances parallel, and we mark our seam and then cut it. Then when we go to the next side, guess what? Both things will line up, the outside of the Star Maker, and we have a line where the seam will be. And then we go and continue on, always keeping the light colors on one side and the dark colors here. Let me just show you here, as you get larger, it's okay. The outside will still line up, and we do the same thing for our seam line. So that keeps it very, very accurate. Okay, let's take a look at some of the finished placemats I have here. This one, I have used the backing to come around to the front as a binding on my quilt. And you'll see I have the dark fabrics on 3 sides, and on 3 sides I have the light fabric. Here we have a smaller piece that's in progress. Guess what season this is for? Probably Christmas. And here I have it enlarged. This one has 1 more strip around each side. And I chose a different finish on this one just for fun, because to me a Christmas placemat, you know, it's only going to be used once a year or twice at the most during that season. So I layered 3 pieces of fabric with some batting, and I did a decorative stitch around the outside edge, and then I trimmed it with a rotary cutter that had a wave blade. So it really is a raw edge, but it works just fine for a placemat. Here's a smaller one. Same thing, only I stopped 1 strip smaller on that particular one. Let's take a look at this one here. I have 4 of the hexagon log cabins put together into a table runner. Now, you know, not all of the triangles I've used are the same. Let's take a look at how they look different. First of all, I showed you how to do the plain triangles like we have here. Let's take a look at some other things we can do. these two sizes each use 2 colors. And for that, I sewed 2 strips together, just folded them right on the seam, and you can either bring the green to the outside, the red inside, or the other way around. And you have that triangle. Here I have a solid blue on the inside. This one looks like a stripe. And what I've done is to take 2 strips of fabric, but they're not the same width. The blue one is wider. So when I fold it and bring it around this way, it looks like a stripe. Now, isn't it fun to make stars where the points don't have to match? I hope you have enjoyed this project and that you'll make some kitchen quilts. My name is Kaye Wood, and keep on quilting.
Did you know? The first functional sewing machine was invented by the French tailor Barthélemy Thimonier in 1830. Thimonier's machine used only 1 thread and a hooked needle that made the same chain stitch used with embroidery. The inventor was almost killed by an enraged group of French tailors who burned down his garment factory because they feared unemployment as a result of his new invention. Stay tuned for more when Quilter's Toolbox returns.
If you said true, then you're right. Stick around and we'll show you some modern tools later on in the show.
I'd like to share some tools that are very important to help us sew through these heavy seams. I think if we're doing a repair, or even if we're trying to sew a pocket back down to a project, elastic, tapestries, upholstery, we sometimes have trouble getting through these real heavy seams. The top edge of this pocket is even hemmed and turned under at the corner where this rivet is housed. So to come across here with a bar tack sometimes I think is a real difficulty. That's where we want to use the right needle. Now, it's always been suggested to me that we use a real heavy 16 or 18, and sometimes I find that a needle that heavy or big around is like pounding through cement. So I have much better luck if you use an actual jeans needle. It's made for denim. Then what we're going to do, if you're still having troubles, you're going to use needle lubricant or sewer's aid. It's a type of silicone, if you will, and you're actually going to put a drop of this down on your needle. Lubricate your needle so that it slides and glides through your denim. It'll just really be like butter almost. And another use for this lubricant, I think it's very tough to get through some of these real heavy flat felled side seams. Then what you can use your lubricant for to help you cut through some of these heavier fabrics is on your scissor blades. You're going to actually take and lubricate up your scissor blade, and what that will help you with is closure. Sometimes they're hard to manipulate, especially through a thickness. So you'll, and then not to worry about this getting onto your fabric. It will possibly leave a little wet mark, but it will dry clear, so you don't have to worry about it staining your fabric. And then when you're all done with this lubricant for your sewing, you can take and clean your eyeglasses with it. It will help them from fogging up. So not only are you sewing through heavy fabrics, but you're helping your glasses against the fog. I like to use this utility knife to loosen the bar tacks of the pockets. Sometimes they're very difficult to get under with a seam ripper, and they're wonderful to loosen bar tacks on belt loops. Sometimes that's difficult to get undone. And then of course to slide through these flat felled side seams. So let me just review a few of the tools used here in the tips for bulky fabric. Needles, sewing machine needles, most important, and you want to use an actual jeans needle made for denim. And as I said earlier, I like to use a lighter weight. They're sharper on the point, either a size 12 or 14. And the razor knife, the needle lubricant for your scissor blades. I'm Luvita Nichols, and I hope these tips help you with your next bulky fabric project.
Join us inside the toolbox, where we'll take a closer look at the latest tools.
Many quilters need a way to organize and store their quilting thread. This can be a problem for beginners as well as more experienced quilters. The Sulky Quilter's Starter Package offers a solution. The starter package includes the Sulky Slimline Storage Box that contains 30 of the most popular Sulky 30-weight rayon colors, along with clear and smoke polyester invisible thread. This Sulky Slimline Storage Box comes with 30 spools of thread, but it can hold up to 104 small spools with a snap end closure. The thread can easily be arranged by color family. The Sulky Slimline Storage Box is a freestanding, easily accessible see-through container. It can also be opened fully and hung on the wall. The box only weighs 4 pounds when full. Users can store this container with their quilting supplies and bring it out for their next project or take it to their next class. Users don't have to worry about the contents shifting while carrying the box. The Sulky Slimline Storage Box has the exclusive lifting tab. This allows easy removal of the spools and won't let the spools fall out. The Sulky Slimline Storage Box offers an easy way for new and advanced quilters to organize and store their quilting thread. It offers flexibility, allowing users to leave it freestanding on a table or hang it on the wall. Many users will find that it makes a nice addition to their quilting tools.
If you would like a copy of today's Quilter's Toolbox program or would like to order today's feature project, call 1-800-248-5293. That's 1-800-248-5293. Please remember to specify the program number when ordering. Or visit us on the web at quiltingtools.com.
Thank you so much for joining us on Quilter's Toolbox. We hope you learned something new or just had a good time. We sure had fun bringing you this show. Please join us for the next Quilter's Toolbox, where we will bring you the latest tools, some great tips, innovative techniques, and some good old-fashioned quilting fun.